Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest?
Let's be honest.
A lot has transpired and taken place since the last time that we came together as a community to discuss economic inclusion.
Locally, nationally, personally, many of us are commenting
That these are unusual, even historic times. Times like never before. But for many of us, maybe your neighbors, maybe your coworker, maybe for you,
The Cedar Valley seems exactly the way it always has been.
The same feelings, same obstacles, same assumptions.
Same prejudices, the same nods, some stops.
the same looks, same laughs, same silence.
same silence. Same silence. My first experience with bias would have been as early as I can remember, really. Because of the family I grew up in, I used to get that I sound white all the time, or that I wasn't like, some of the other black people, or that even people will say, when thinking that they're saying it as a term of endearment, but will call me like an Oreo, as if for some reason that I'm black on the outside, but I'm really white on the inside, and that I can fit in.
The first experience, that's easy. When I'll never forget my first day of kindergarten. My family education is the most important thing. That was something that was built up, and so I just been excited for my first day of real school. And I'll never forget, there was this little white neighbor girl, I think she was in 5th grade, who was going to the same school, so she was walking me to school. And I'm as happy as I can be, going to school, first day of school, have a chance to be like a big kid and do this thing, going to school, which is so important for my family. And then I'll never forget to seeing all kinds of kids on the playground and walking up the steps to get onto the playground to go towards the school building. And someone looks at me, and this white boy looks at me and calls me a nigger. And so that particular moment, I go from being a kid who just sees other kids to all of a sudden I see myself, skin color different from everybody else, feeling insecure, feeling like, okay, I don't know what's going on. And that really just established a foundation for me. So then from that point on, the kind of preparation and cautions that my parents gave me started to make sense. Okay, now, I know I'm black, I'm different. I know that, why I've got to work, twice as hard to get the same. I know why I have to kind of look over my shoulder and, be careful in certain situations. So all of these different warnings that black parents give their kids to prepare them, for the world of racism, because of that experience, everything made sense.
Probably the first day of school. My neighbors were pretty cool. They accepted me for how I was. But Terry was the girl that walked funny. Terry couldn't run as fast as everybody else. Terry couldn't keep up. Terry couldn't play the games. Terry wanted to play the games. Wanted to be just like everybody else. I wasn't any different. I just had a left leg that was 1 inch shorter than the right. No big deal to me, but kids can be cruel. Really cruel. Weebles wobbles, but they don't fall down.
I mean, when we just migrated over here to the United States, a lot of people were, it was something different, something new. And I feel like a lot of people are scared and they don't know how to react to something they don't know about. So I would say I was a teenager, and it was quite harsh just to belong in a high school. And the kids just not being accepting of whatever you are. And, you speak a different language, you look different. Kids could be cruel.
Bias. Okay, so when I was in Korea, bias against, some itty bitty like appearance, like good looking versus like bad looking kind of thing. That was the only bias that I needed to deal with. But, it was not a big deal. However, when I came to the United States, like when they started calling me minority, and then I'm called a minority. Wait a minute.
You know, one thing I thought of is that a comment that I've had that I could share is, you know, I have never had a black neighbor ever tell me that they don't want, when I move, they don't want anybody, they don't want a white person coming in. But I have had that where my white neighbors have come and said, hey, if you're selling your house, we don't want a black person to come in. You know, stuff like that, just a little thing, you know, it's like, what the?
And it was quite harsh. I mean, they got into my dad's face and told him he's here illegally and should go home where he's from. Funny thing is that we've been here for 20 years.
You know, first house that I owned over on Patton and Liberty in Waterloo, very patriotic neighborhood that was built right after World War II, had redlining codes right in my abstract that said African Americans cannot move into this neighborhood. You know, it's just interesting to see. I mean, it's not interesting. It's a little scary to see that stuff in actual action, and personally how it has.
Kind of the wheelchair's a little bit more acceptable. Okay, maybe something happened. I get it. But then you get your idiots, and I'm sorry, there are idiots that will come up to me. I'm so glad you came out tonight. I'm so glad that you're here to experience this concert and that you got out of the house. Well, what the hell do you think I'm going to do? Just sit at home and cry and be, oh, it's me. I'm in a wheelchair. I can't go anywhere. No, I want to be everywhere. But there are a lot of things that allow me to not be everywhere. Places are not handicap accessible. Perceptions.
Being black in particular is seen as some sort of deficit and some sort of, you know, something to, you know, overcome, that we have to overcome, you know, our race, who we are, our culture. But to me, that is the most inaccurate message that you could have that I see, you know, prominent here in the Cedar Valley, because when you look at the rest of the world, you look at, you know, what black people have done, especially culturally, you see a tremendous strength.
Too many people are putting their heads in the sand and don't think that these things happen. And they do. They do happen. To your friends, to your neighbors, to your loved ones. May have happened to you. One thing about having a disability is this wheelchair disability thing, it can happen to anybody at any point in time in life.
To give a lot more opportunities to people with minority backgrounds so that they can speak up, so that they can, you know, talk about what kind of experiences they are having here, what kind of bad experiences they are having in this culture here, so that, you know, everyone can actually hear from their first-person perspectives.
I feel like that if you invest in diversity, we can learn from each other. Just like I work, the workplace I work for, it's a very diverse office, and we embrace each other's cultures. And I feel like it makes us a stronger team, especially the clients that we see. Their backgrounds are different, you know, disabled, immigrants, blacks, whites. I mean, a lot of different ones. And I feel like that. By us coming together and embracing each other's cultures, we make a better team. So we understand each other better, and that works out. You can see the chemistry by helping our clients.
The message I would want people to take away is to not use yourself as the constant when you're trying to understand someone else. It's incredibly frustrating to have the same conversations with the same people about the same topic and the behaviors remain the same.
Do not judge a book by its cover. See me not the disability. I got a lot going on up here. May not look like it, but I tell you what, I programmed 3 very successful radio stations. I have to toot my own horn that in my career as a program director of a radio station, I received 4 Crystal Awards from the National Association of Broadcasters. That may not mean a lot to your average Joe Blow. In radio, it's huge. It's for outstanding community service because I will make a difference. You can too. But let's be honest, tomorrow can be different.
Actually, today needs to be different.
You've heard about the 24/7 ranking that labeled us the worst place in the United States for blacks to live.
That's black men, black women,
That's black families, black workers.
black lawyers, black doctors.
And black business owners.
The worst place in the United States? Is it true?
Is it true?
Is it true? I don't know.
Maybe in a couple of years from now, maybe we'll be number 11 or 22. Wow, imagine that.
But let's be honest. Will that be because of great strides, great improvement, great community change?
Or will it be because a handful of communities in other states actually got worse?
While here in the Cedar Valley, it's the same old same.
Our LGBT plus family, disabled brothers and sisters, new immigrants and refugees, even our elders, we all have battles every day. But let's be honest, it could be better.
We could be better. We could do better.
The Cedar Valley together, we can get better.
Let's be honest, what would the Cedar Valley be? What could it be? What could we be if we could reset, reboot, rebuild the relationships in our neighborhoods and in our streets, in our businesses and in our schools, in our restaurants and bars and boardrooms,
On our trails and in our parks, on our social media.
In our pews and around our dinner tables.
That would be an inclusive Cedar Valley. That would be us at our best. That would be a number 1 we would be proud of.
Honestly, we'll have to do things differently. Honestly, there won't be any bystanders. It will take all of us. Leaders must be 100% committed to seeing this through.
Honestly, it'll not happen overnight. But hey, it needs to happen a lot bigger and faster than ever before. But together, we can do this. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
We are
We are
We are the Cedar Valley.